In this tutorial, I will explain you what is the DHCP and how it works in a network. DHCP is an acronym for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. As the name includes, it is the client and server protocol which helps to get the IP address, subnet mask, DNS information and default gateway to the clients from DHCP server. What it means, suppose in a network there are two PCs which are directly connected to the home router. And this home router is the responsible to give the internet to these two PCs. So this router acts as a gateway for these two PCs. Everything goes from this PC is directly goes from this router. Everything comes from outside of the network. Goes directly from this router. So this router called as a gateway router. It is called as a gateway. What it means, this is a small router like this. In this there is one WAN port and 4 LAN ports is there. The WAN port is the port where the internet comes from outside, and the LAN port is the ports where the PCs are connected directly to these ports. Okay, like this from ISP we get a cable from outside and the cable is directly attached to the WAN port in the router, and there are 4 LAN ports is there. We took two cables and we directly attached these cables to the two internal PCs. Now this router is responsible to give the internet to these PCs. So this router have a default IP address is there. For example, this is a home router, means the home routers, all home routers use the class C IP address, which is 192 series IP address. For example, this router has 192.168.1.1 IP address. This router has the IP address 192.168.1.1. So this router is the responsible to give the IP address to these two client PCs. So there is an internal mechanism is there which is called DHCP server. Thus DHCP is directly integrated in this router. So this router is also act like a DHCP server. DHCP server. Now this DHCP service which is integrated in this router is responsible to give the clients to a unique IP address and the default subnet mask and default gateway to this client PCs. So these client PCs will get one unique IP address. For example, this PC, this DHCP server gives this PC a 192 series IP address like 192.168.1.3, and for this PCs it gives 1.4 IP like that, and it will give the same subnet mask, same gateway for these PCs. Only it will give unique IP address to these PCs, but the subnet mask, gateway and DNS address is it will give same. At first you understand that DHCP is a service. DHCP is completely a software, not a hardware like processor, RAM in a PC. DHCP is a service installed in any OS like Windows, Linux or any platform. In Linux server like Ubuntu or Mint or Fedora, this service is automatically integrated on these OSs. In Windows server, this DHCP server is available. This DHCP server is available in Windows Server 2008 or 2012 like that operating systems. So let's look at when DHCP server makes your job easy as an administrator. In this scenario, there are only two PCs is there. So there is an option. One option is you can automatically assign the IP address from DHCP, and you can manually assign the IP address from your end. So you can manually assign the IP address to these pieces like IP address, default gateway, subnet mask. You can, there is an option is there, you can manually assign the IP address in this in NIC codes. But let us imagine if you have a enterprise network or corporate or business network like that. In that network there are 200 or 300 pieces is there. So for every PC you have to go and manual assign, means it is a very headache process. By this scenario, at that time there is an option. So DHCP server makes your job easy. So DHCP is nothing but it gives IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS dynamically to the PCs. DHCP server gives the IP address to the client as leases, means it gives the IP address as a rent. So here in my network, you saw the DHCP is enabled and it gives the IP address like this lease. So it gives the IP address from September, from the IP address will work from September 16 to and Friday to Saturday. After Saturday the IP address is expired and the PC will get the IP address, new IP address from DHCP server. This new IP address it will get also as a lease. Here you see my DHCP server gives what gives it is. So it gives automatically the DNS server IP address and Win server IP address, and this is the DHCP server 3.3, and it gives the gateway address, and it shows me the lease times from Friday to Saturday, and it gives the subnet mask, it gives the 3.159 IP address. To work DHCP in a Windows network, you have to first enable the service in Windows network. This is the services in Windows network, in Windows OS. This is the services. To get into the services, you have to type in run command services.msc. In this command, you see this DHCP client. You have to enable this client to work the DHCP in your Windows PC. Here you saw that it is already started, so it gives the stop and restart service. Here it is showing that it is started. So it is started means, so that's why I get an IP address from my DHCP server. My DHCP server is my router. Let us look into a closer and practical look how DHCP works in a network. At present, this is my network. Here ISP is giving the internet access through fiber line to my router. The fiber line that wire is directly connected to my router first port. This is WAN port. You all know that this is WAN port. And from LAN port I get the cable from LAN side to my switch, my internal switch. This is my switch. In this switch my PC is directly connected to one of the LAN port here, and second LAN port is connected as a wireless bridge. This bridge is directly connected to another repeater. This bridge, okay, this is the repeater. Okay, from this repeater my tab is working through wireless. Okay, and one port is connected to my printer. It is the cable, LAN cable, and my IP cam is working as a wireless to this. This all connected to my router. So in my router I configured that WAN IP address as a first in the first port, and LAN IP address as 192.168.1.1. So this router is now acting as a DHCP server. By this I get the automatically IP address from this router, because this router is acting as a DHCP. Okay, so now we'll just look into my router and how the DHCP is I configured in my router. Okay, This is my router LAN settings. Here I configured that IP address. I given the IP address 192.168.1.1 as a router IP address, and it is the class C address. So the subnet mask is directly taken by this router. 255.255.255.0 is the class C subnet mask, default subnet mask it is. Here I enable the DHCP server. So after I enabling the DHCP server in my router, that this my router is acting as a DHCP server. Now I given the starting IP address and the ending IP address 1.2 to 1.250 I given. So this is called as the pool. This is called as nothing but a pool address. I configured only one pool. This pool it will gives 1.2 to 1.250 IP addresses I configured. So now any PC which is connected to my router gives that PC from 1.2 to 1.250 IP addresses. Like one PC, if I connect my one PC to this router, it will give 1.2. Another PC it will give 1.3. Up to 1.250 it will give the IP address. And this is the class C address. So there are 254 addresses I have, and 255 address is the my multicast address. Okay, my broadcast address. Sorry. And here you see I am not given 251, 252, 253, 254 addresses in my DHCP in my pool address. So I can configure this IP address manually to any needed systems. By that scenario I get the IP address from this router as a 1.2. My PC is here. I get the IP address 1.2, and this tab get 1.3. For example, there is another tab connected. This tab get 1.4. If I connect this port to another PC, means this PC get 1.5 is the IP address, and subnet mask 255.255.0 subnet mask it gets, and gateway 1.1. 1.1 means this router IP address as a gateway, and DNS address which I configured in my router, it will get the DNS address of that router. Okay. In past I show that 251, 252 is not configured in DHCP server. So I can given these addresses to the fixed IP address where we need fixed IP address. For example, in for printers we have to give the fixed IP address like a static IP address. Static IP address we have to give for printer, because printer needs a fixed IP address, because every time the printer if a printer changes the IP addresses, means we are very hard to get the print from the printer. We are very hard to identify the printer which IP address it is working. So in printer we need the static IP address like fixed IP address. So I give this 251 IP address to my printer. And for IP cams also we need a fixed IP address, because IP cams need a fixed IP address. So I give 252 to my IP cam address. Okay. By this DHCP server works. Let us look into a corporate environment where there is 100 of PCs available there. So in that environment, how this DHCP server works. Okay. In my home router I have enough RAM is there, because this is the home router where a 64 MB RAM is there. So this home router has a DHCP server option. I am using the DHCP server, but in a business environment there are 100 or 200 PCs are there. So the 64 MB is not available to handle that much of PCs. So how we configure that, how we use DHCP in business network, let us look at that. This is my business environment. In this environment there are so many PCs is connected to switches, and this switches is connected to my main router. This is the one, for example, this is one Cisco router. Let us imagine this is a Cisco router 2600 series or something. In this there is only 128 MB RAM is there. this total RAM is responsible to route the data from ISP to clients and to act as a DNS, to act as a DHCP. So if we configure the DHCP in this router, means that DHCP, this router resources is highly increased. If this router resources is increased, the routing is, it will take some lot of time to get the data from this client to ISP, ISP to clients. This router is also responsible to do the network address translation. If we enable the DHCP in this router, means it will take so much resources of this router. So to avoid this problem, what all the business in peoples do in their business network admin do in their environment means, for example, take this PC. This PC is a high RAM, 4 GB or something RAM is there, and high hard disk is there, 2 TB hard disk is there. So what they do means they configure this PC as a server, as a Linux or Windows. In Windows Server there is a default inbuilt functionality, DHCP is there. So they configure this PC as a Windows Server, for example, and this Windows Server, they enable DHCP service, and they give that address pool, and scope address, DHCP scope. They configure DHCP scope. DHCP scope means they configured all subnet mask, IP address, gateway, all this, and they stop DHCP service in this router. So now the request come from, for example, if this is my PC, I need a IP address automatically. I need IP address for my PC. So my PC send a broadcast packet to all the PCs in my network, all the devices in my network. It send a broadcast packet. This broadcast packet, what is in this broadcast packet means this broadcast packet search for a DHCP server. This packet is called DHCP discovery. This send DHCP discovery packet to all my PCs, and this is my DHCP server. So it responds to this request. It gives the acknowledgement, like it gives the IP address to this PC and subnet mask, gateway, all the configuration this PC required, it gives that to this PC. So let's look at that practical look of how DHCP is configured in my environment. So this is my DHCP Windows Server. In this Windows Server, I using the DHCP server. Here I configured the scope 3.0. Here I am giving the address pool from 3.100 to 3.175. Use the address range to all my PCs in my environment, and I am using the lease time and some reserved IPs for some systems. It is for reserved. By this we configure all. For example, here I configured my router ID and my domain name and my Win server. Win server is responsible to communicate local PCs. Like this is Win server. Win's protocol is there in Microsoft protocol. This is the old protocol which helps to communicate local systems. Okay, and here I given all this. By this their DHCP works like this. Linux is an open source environment, so if you need for example to use the less cost, means you can use the Linux operating system. For example, take one PC and install the Linux operating system in this PC and use that Linux OS as a DHCP server. And this PC is responsible to give the IP address to manage all the IP address to all these clients. Okay. If you use DHCP, means there is no IP conflict occur in your environment. For example, if you manually give the IP address to all this, means for example there are 200 systems is there. If you configure manually, means you will give 1.2, so sometime 1.3, 1.4. Whenever you come to 50 PC, you can, there is a possibility is there, you can give the same IP address which is given already to another system like 1.2. You already given 1.2 to here, and there is a possibility is there that 1.50 PC also you will give 1.2. Whenever you given 1.2 to 2 pieces means there is IP conflict occur in these 2 pieces, and it will drag all the network into a slow condition. So to avoid this problem, DHCP is very helpful in this scenario. Thank you for watching this. If you like my video, click on the subscribe button and like button. Thank you.